Hello, I'm Dean.
I'm Kyra. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about 10 steps to downsizing your belongings for your move overseas.
The first step is start downsizing way earlier than you think you have to, because we found that it really takes some time, takes a lot of effort, a lot of soul searching, and just you don't want to be haphazard about it. You want to take the things that you should take and leave the things that you shouldn't, but you also need to be sure about it so you don't have any regrets.
The other thing you want to think about is how much stuff can you afford to bring? And where we're getting really specific about this is, are you going to be bringing containers? Are you going to pack like a full container and have it shipped over to Portugal? Or are you going to come in suitcases?
Yeah, and different methods of travel definitely takes different amounts of things that you can bring, and you have to really take the cost into account.
And one thing to think about when you're doing this is, let's say if you were going to go in a regular, just basic seat, that's one thing. But this is one of those times that you may want to use miles or points or something like that to do an upgrade. Because if you take that upgrade, a lot of times, like say your first 2 bags per person are free. And what we did was we on purpose overloaded a couple of bags that we knew they were not going to really weigh. They were only going to worry about the size of them because those were our free bags. And so the stuff that we knew was probably heavier, we had one of those scales. So the 4 bags that we knew that were going to be a little bit heavier, we went ahead and let those be our free bags. And we would encourage you to do the same thing.
Right. And again, we decided to move with suitcases. Some people decide to have all or a portion of a cargo container shipped to them. And it's all about preference. For us, we downsized a lot of our lives to make it easier and more affordable to travel. That decision is really up to the individual. Some people want everything with them, and some people, like us, were able to make some choices that we felt were good for us.
And the other thing you may want to think about is some countries offer, once you've gotten your visa, you can request a baggage certificate, and that will allow you to bring perhaps a little bit more luggage. Sometimes there's a minimal or no cost option if you've got this baggage certificate. So it's something to, if you're on one of the groups and you're looking around and you see that, it's something to think about. Also, before I forget, I wanted to mention Rashida Dow also did a really good video on the same thing that we're talking about, the downsizing. And I really wanted to encourage people to also take a look at her video if you are seriously thinking about downsizing along with ours.
Another thing that was really useful for us is to bring things to your new place that really make it feel like home. Because being in an entirely different country, an entirely different space to live, you might want things that remind you of the comfort that you're used to. For us, ever since our honeymoon, we've been collecting art wherever we travel. So that was very important for us to bring, because we can look at all of these memories that we made through this art, and it makes us feel at home.
The other thing is, you can tell if you've been watching these videos, I pretty much have a different scarf on every time. I pretty much brought my whole scarf collection, but scarves are really thin and they travel really easily. But you'll have to decide, what are the things that you can bring that are easy. The other thing is, perhaps bringing some things that are personal to you. I brought my mom's quilts with me, a few of my mom's quilts, because that instantly reminds me of home. The other thing you're going to want to do is make sure that,
that you have a pile of things that absolutely need to go, and have another pile of things that can go if you have the room.
Right. So what we did was we had our this must go, and then we had the other things that were like, you know what, let's just go ahead and put this in a pile, and if we have room for the Christmas tree skirt or whatever, we will get that in. We did end up bringing a Christmas tree skirt.
We did. Yeah. So back to the luggage for a minute. It's useful, especially if you're traveling with suitcases and you're looking at the cost, to, first of all, after you've done your must go and if you have room pile, to really decide how many suitcases or containers you're going to be bringing with you on the plane, and then break that down per person. Is it going to be 3 suitcases for each of 3 people for a total of 9 suitcases? Or is it more affordable to do 2 very large suitcases per person rather than that third one? And, take a calculator, do the math, decide maybe if you want to upgrade to get that third bag free with some airlines, because that could be more cost effective than actually paying for all the bags.
Yeah, definitely whatever airline, if you've got status or you're part of a club, one of the different mileage clubs, I would definitely look at what they're going to charge you. And this would be a really good time. You've got, a card that lets you get some extra bags free that'll get you most of the way there. The other thing that I just wanted to toss in was we decided to do a non-stop flight, so we would only have to pay for the bags once. So if you're going to take a carrier and there's 2 or 3 stops, make sure you're not having to pay for the bags. Like, let's say part of your stop is you're going from the West Coast to Atlanta, and then in Atlanta you're changing planes and you're going to another carrier. In some cases, you'll have to pay for those bags twice. So think about doing a nonstop flight from one location to the other. If you have stuff in storage, one of the things that I would think about is perhaps looking at all that stuff in storage and when was the last time you used it. Let's say it's been in storage for a year or 2 years. You may have looked at it and go, you know what, we're not really using this. We don't really need this. Especially the stuff in storage is probably things that can be given away or maybe sold on Craigslist. We sold some stuff, right? Craigslist, and we sold some things on Craigslist, and we also had a garage sale. We're going to talk about garage sale later.
I want to reiterate something that we alluded to earlier, is give yourself the time to go through all of your stuff. Because Kyra mentioned that garage sale. Do this early, because you will probably find out that you have much more stuff than you realize. And that includes clothing, that includes odds and ends, that includes tools, things that you might not think about on a daily basis. The leaf blower in your garage.
Also, if you bought extra stuff during the pandemic, like you were like stocking up on laundry detergent or stocking up on, whatever it was, and then all of a sudden you realize, I probably don't need these 4 extra bottles of laundry detergent. I'm not going to take those with me.
And a mistake people make is sometimes they think that all of this stuff that we have where we live now won't be available in the country we're moving to. And in Portugal, at least, with the exception of ranch dressing, you can get pretty much everything. So, now Kyra was going to talk about garage sales.
So garage sales. We decided to weed out a whole bunch of stuff that we were like, okay, this stuff is good. I had a lot of purses, things that I was like, I am not taking this with me. So we had garage sale, and we had a 2-day garage sale. A lot of people who came on day 1 came back on day 2 because we were like, oh, a box of jars, great, mason jars. I'm not taking those with me. And I had done a lot of gardening I did a lot of gardening in 2020. We had what do you call it, a community space that we gardened in. And then I wasn't using all that gardening stuff, needed to go, everything. So we definitely weren't bringing that with us. We would just get everything here.
I had a lawnmower and I had a leaf blower, things that we weren't going to transport here.
We had a small freezer.
Right. Appliances that we weren't going to move because it would cost more to move them than to buy them here.
So what we ended up doing was having this big garage sale for 2 days, and it was kind of nice because then when we got on the road and we were, before we were actually leaving the country, we did a little traveling around and visiting friends and saying goodbye. And then we had a little extra cash, to stop along the way and to eat some meals. And it was nice. I think you can always use a little extra cash. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend a garage sale at least 1 weekend, maybe 2 weekends, if you really have a lot of stuff, to, number 1, get a little extra cash for yourself, and number 2, not be dragging along things. Anything with a motor doesn't work here because the electricity is different. So you might want to bring like that Instant Pot, but then when you get it here, because it has a motor, it is not going to work the same being plugged into the electrical current here. You'll need to buy a new Instant Pot. So just be aware of those type of things.
To go along with the garage sale, what I would say is balance the sentimental value of your items with the cost and the difficulty to move them. Mm-hmm. I had a collection of antique swords, and it was going to be problematic to travel halfway around the world with these long pointy things. And they meant a lot to me, but also I was storing them in a bag. They hadn't been hanging up for some time, so I hadn't really seen them. So I decided that I would sell those at the garage sale. I sold 1 or 2 to collectors and donated 1 to a theater company because I wasn't going to use them, and I was actually moving someplace where the swords I could find here are going to be far older and more interesting than the ones I left behind. We also had a sleigh bed that we got as a wedding present, and this was kind of difficult to let go because it had a lot of sentimental value. But again, it would have cost more than the bed was worth for us to ship it here. So we ended up donating it to a person in need.
Yeah, there were a few people that we found that were like, looking for getting out of a difficult situation or things like that. We got a couple of phone calls. And so we were able to, give some of our stuff to people who really needed it at a time when they needed it. So that felt really good too. And then the last thing is you will find other things to replace the items that you loved, or you'll move into a place that's like fully furnished. You'll be like, oh my gosh, they have china here, which is what happened here. We ended up with, a full set of china, and I had given my set of china, which was my grandmother's set, to my sister before I left. And I was like sad to see it go, but I knew, like, trying to ship it over here and making sure none of the pieces were broken, that just wasn't going to work. So don't be sad. You will find, other lovely things that you will enjoy over here.
And they will have sentimental value all their own, and it'll be part of your new adventure.
So thank you so much for watching. And we just want to encourage you, if you've been enjoying our channel, please mention it to your friends and family. We're trying to get up to 500 people so we can do a live stream. And we're really excited about doing that, but we need to get enough people to make it worthwhile so that, everybody will have a chance to pop in and say something, but also so that we're not just sitting there talking to each other. We actually have people to talk to.
So please encourage your friends to subscribe if you're enjoying the channel.
All right, so we'll see you next time around. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you out on the road.